Good afternoon, I'm Ed Pozzuoli, President of Tripp Scott, and welcome to another one of our series webcasts. Today, we are delighted to be joined by Chuck Tatelbaum. Chuck is a new director at Tripp Scott. Chuck, welcome.
Thank you. Really a pleasure to be here and be with the firm.
We're excited as well. For the purpose of our viewers, give them just a snapshot of your background and experience.
Well, I've been practicing law for 47 years, and all of it in the bankruptcy, creditors' rights, business litigation area. And I've practiced in Maryland and Florida. And I took 2 years off in the 90s to work in Eastern Europe when communism was falling, working for the State Department. But since then, I've been lucky. I've got to travel around the country and around the world handling really interesting cases.
Now, some of the cases that you've handled, let's take the Saab bankruptcy. Let's talk a little bit about that, give the viewers an opportunity to see the breadth of the experience.
Well, I was asked to represent the main lender for Saab for all of its operations in Sweden, UK, Germany, France, Spain, and the United States. And there were corresponding bankruptcies all over when Saab decided that it couldn't continue. And on behalf of the lender, I coordinated all the liquidation of assets and everything, and with local counsel in some of the countries. And luckily, our client's been paid in full, plus interest, plus attorney's fees.
That's pretty good. That's
very
pretty good.
Pleased. Very, very pleased.
You mentioned you worked back when communism fell in Eastern Europe. You worked for the State Department.
Yes.
What did you do, and what experience does that bring today for us?
Well, I led teams in Bosnia, Croatia, and Slovakia for the State Department in helping them install Western business laws, because the theory was, and it was true, that after communism, there would be no investment in those countries by Western banks and businesses unless there were laws to protect them. So I worked to help install business laws, bankruptcy laws in those countries. And what it did is it gave me a great perspective in understanding that you can't be an American lawyer in those countries. And you have to understand their customs, their religion, their legal theories. And that's really helped me become a better international lawyer, because you almost have to become, I don't want to say a chameleon, but you have to adapt to them if you're going to be successful as a lawyer there.
And that helps achieve the client's goals, whatever they are.
That's right. And then you can better advise the client as to what their opportunities and their risks are if you understand the way the system works.
Right. Let me skip back from Eastern Europe back to Fort Lauderdale. You joined Tripp Scott starting this new year.
Yes.
And we're glad to have you. But why Tripp Scott?
Well, for several reasons. One, I've always known the reputation of the firm, and I know some of the people. And I've had the opportunity of co-counseling with Tripp Scott on some issues. But more than that, I needed a platform of good business lawyers to help me with what I do for my clients and make myself available for good clients of the firm. So what Tripp Scott did is let me create, and with them, a department. And we have Christopher Ongst, we have Mike Foster, and a couple of younger people that have all come to Tripp Scott to create this department that will serve all of the clients' needs, locally, domestically, internationally, and wherever. And we've got the capacity to do that.
Tell everybody a little bit more about what the Creditor Rights Department's going to focus on and what kind of services you're looking to provide.
Well, there's a joke that bankruptcy happens.
Right.
And it's not representing the debtors so much, is representing creditors, whether they be lenders, in helping them structure loans so that their borrowers don't go bankrupt, and if they do, how to protect themselves if they do, if they get into trouble. Representing the clients when they're customers, whether they be lenders, vendors, employers, landlords. If the customers get into trouble, representing them to maximize their recovery and minimize their exposure from the very recently popular clawback actions. And then if they do get sued, like in lender liability or vendor liability claims, being there to represent them from the beginning all the way through the jury trial to the end, and making sure that their interests are protected. We do all of that with the help of other departments that we feed on when we need them to create the best resources.
Well, what about the opportunities that of businesses that are in bankruptcy to be, of others who are looking at those opportunities to buy certain assets or buy the business from or out of the bankruptcy process?
That's very interesting. One of the things we've done, and I've done a lot of it recently, and we all have, is the opportunity to buy out of a bankruptcy what's called a Section 363 sale, because you buy all of the assets free and clear of all liens, claims, or anything. It's better than buying it off of a certified statement. And it's a great opportunity for those in an industry to pick up an asset and a business for a future opportunity.
Now you're just in the process of having one now in One Bell Harbor, right?
Yes, I represented the Residential Condo Association, and we bought the whole hotel, spa, restaurant facility out of bankruptcy, and it's going to be converted back to a 5-star operation for the benefit of the condo owners.
And just so our clients don't think you're all business, because we know that you have a totally different side to you, a funny side. One could call you a clown, right?
Very well.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've always had a childhood fantasy about clowning around, and one of my favorite and best clients is Macy's. And a number of years ago, I felt comfortable enough to express my childhood fantasy, and they laughed, and they got me into Clown University, which is in New York, run by the Big Apple Circus, because I wanted to be in the Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Right.
But you can't get in unless you're a graduate of Clown U and pass the test. And I went, I was graduated, I passed, and I've been in the last 3 Thanksgiving Day parades, and I'm now grandfathered in. So as long as I'm physically able to do it, every year on Thanksgiving at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be in costume and makeup and in that parade.
That's awesome. That's just a wild experience. Now, they didn't give you any credit for law school going to Clown U at all, did they?
No, in fact, it's sort of a detriment. They found most lawyers too boring to be clowns.
Well, Chuck, I'll tell you what, you're certainly not boring, and we are happy to have you at Tripp Scott. And so welcome on behalf of all the directors and everybody who works at Tripp Scott. Welcome to Tripp Scott.
Thank you. I plan to be here a long time and really enjoy it.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today.